come and analyze the product with me using BuyBotPro. So we're going to be taking a look at this Malibu Bronzing Tanning Oil from B&M, and I'm going to be telling you my thought process throughout the entire analysis session, so you get a bit more of an insight into some of the things that sellers look at, why they look at certain things and so forth, in order to come to that almighty decision of whether or not you're going to buy it to resell it. Now, don't worry if you don't have access to this product or this store. All of the things that I'm going to be telling you throughout this can very easily be applied to your own analysis. So ignore the product, ignore the store. The rest of it you can apply to your own analysis, as I say. If you happen to be with me in the UK, then maybe this would be a good product. I don't know. At a pre-glance, I would say that this is an okay item for anyone at any level of Amazon, okay? Now, part of the reason why I'm having a look at this kind of product in this kind of group is because here in the UK, we are coming up to summer, right? I think if you're with me in the UK, you'll agree that it's basically early summer right now. Like, I only got sunburn last weekend or something like that. And that's crazy. I've never had a sunburn in April before. So, yeah, summer's definitely here. And obviously we are in Q2, and the majority of Q2 and also Q3 to some extent is summer, okay? Now, we need to be thinking of things that do well in this kind of season, this kind of climate. And obviously, this just makes sense. I know I just had sunburn and here I am looking at tanning oil, but obviously, it's going to do well nonetheless. So in my sourcing, I've applied a bit of common knowledge and I'm thinking of the season. That's part of what you do with Amazon. You hop from opportunity to opportunity. So of course, you're thinking about events that happen in each quarter and of course, what season it's going to be. Now, other summary type things like electric fans will do well, for example, a bit later down the line. They might have already started picking up at this point. But obviously with things like this, it's a bit better because it's a bit more universal, because for tanning oil, sun cream, these sort of like hand luggage type things that you can just take with you anywhere and everywhere, they are really good because A, they're replenishable. People will get through this stuff and they will be getting more. And it means that, as I say, it's a bit more universal because people don't just not go on holiday at all from like the end of summer where they are. They'll go on holiday to somewhere that's nice during the not so great months of the year. So for the popularity of this sort of thing, there will no doubt be some decline when it's colder, in those colder months. But not entirely, because as I say, people still go on holiday, and if you are selling in multiple marketplaces, one country's winter might be another country's summer. So in that sense, if you are selling like that, this will be a good all-rounder and it will work throughout the entirety of the year. So that aside, as I say, the product, the store, it's just an example. Obviously, everything I'm going to tell you is useful for your analysis nonetheless. So this product is $3.69 in B&M. Let's go ahead and take a look at it on Amazon. So initially, you'll probably notice that I am not ungated to sell this product, and if that would be the case for you, you need to make a decision as to if you're going to get ungated or not. If you're not, you leave it right there. You don't proceed any further. If you are going to get ungated, then obviously you need to get an invoice, meet all of Amazon's requirements, get approved, boom, you can sell. So you need to make that decision. And obviously for the purposes of this video, I'm going to ignore that fact and just pretend that I am eligible to sell. So we can take a look at the rest and I can tell you my thought processes. Okay, so some other great things that I've noticed here is the fact that it's not hazmat. It is not a dangerous good. And with this sort of thing, you do have to be a bit careful with that, because obviously some things will use certain chemicals and so forth that Amazon will consider hazardous or as a dangerous good or whatever. Then obviously you need to decide if you're going to potentially go through with that still, but maybe, you know, you're enrolled in a dangerous goods program, or you just fulfill it yourself. You know, when it comes to things like that dangerous goods hazmat, you can make that decision as to whether or not you're going to do it FBA or FBM. Obviously, it's not meltable. The IP radar is all clear. There's no known PL issues. Buy box analysis. So Amazon have been known to share the buy box, which is great news. Oversized, it's not oversized. It's a nice little thing. And there are some variations of the product, as we can see there. There are different types of ingredients used in the oil, different SPFs. Yeah, so a couple of variations there. Right, so let's take a look at some of the details. Now, the numbers are going to be quite subjective because obviously your settings may look entirely different to mine. So my settings are like this. So we have the VAT status says non-VAT registered. Now, from a beginner level, a lot of beginners won't be VAT registered. Obviously, if you're in the US or Canada, then obviously you won't need to worry about any of this. You just set this right here and it will be VAT exclusive. Standard accounting, if you're VAT registered, or even the flat fees, the flat rate scheme, sorry. Obviously, a bunch of these things is going to be differing throughout everyone's BuyBotPro. Obviously, you might have some extra fees that you take into account. I don't. There's a prep fee cost there, shipping costs. So, you know, some of these things will differ. So the numbers on your side may look a little bit different dependent on what obviously you have in your settings. So we can see here that the max price the item ever sold for was $12.99. I'm going to mentally note that because that's quite good. It just means that there is further profit potential here than just expecting to sell it for around £9 something. Let's see. So the max price we can buy it for before we might be looking at something we don't really want, whereby it's going to contravene our product sort of like requirements. Our deal criteria is going to be 372. So we are actually close to that mark. Thankfully we aren't on that mark, so that's good news. Obviously we can see a breakdown of the costs here, which is useful to know. And I would say to always just give that a look over, just so you know what's going into those costs. You might then decide by looking at the costs that you'd prefer to fulfill it yourself, in which case you can obviously switch the calculator to merchant fulfilled and it will remove the FBA fees. So you might want to weigh up whether or not you want to do it that way, and in which case by switching to merchant fulfilled you will get an insight into what the profit will look like without the FBA fees. So this is a low ROI, and to a lot of sellers this would be considered low profit as well. However, there's some other factors to weigh up here before we dismiss this item right now. So just at a quick glance, in terms of the buy box price changes, there's been no downs in the last, well, no more downs than ups in the last 30 days. So there's been an equal amount, which means that there is a form of steadiness and consistency with this item. If it was outweighed with a lot more downs, then obviously the price of this item is continually moving down. If it had more ups than downs, then obviously the profit potential for this item is very much there, very much alive and kicking. But because it matches, it is just steady, okay? And that's not always a bad thing. In fact, it's not a bad thing. You just don't want it to be down significantly more than it is up. So obviously the confidence score is telling me to basically give it a miss. However, it's worth bearing in mind that the confidence score is obviously BuyBotPro's opinion based on this analysis. There may be other things that we think before we make this kind of decision. So the most part of why it'll be telling me this is obviously due to the fact that it is low ROI, low profit. I don't think it meets the criteria I have set in BuyBotPro. However, if we turn our attention to the sales, I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. So the current sales based on the last 30 days is 220, the previous is 685, and the predicted is also 685. So this means that this item will not deteriorate whatsoever. When you can see a predicted amount that is more, the same as, or even in some cases only slightly below the number that we have here for the previous sales, that means that the sales for this item will be good. Okay, so if we take a look there, right, so we're in April right now, we can see that last May there was lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of sales. Okay, so I think May and June were the best months for this item. However, you know, I expect that kind of sharp decline. Like, people, of course, will be getting this in the summer months more so than in the winter months. As I say, it's not dead throughout those winter months because we can still see that there is a good amount of sales in those colder months. And also, this month, it's not even over yet. So what we have there so far is still a work in progress. I am sure it will hit this mark by the end of the month based on what we've seen. So sales wise, this looks okay to me. And this is why I'm not initially dismissing it based on the profit. I've done a couple of videos about this recently whereby profit and sales go hand in hand. You can't really have one without the other. If it's something with amazing profit but the sales aren't very good, then you're never going to see that profit, okay? Or it's going to take a long time to do so. However, if you have an item that has got really good sales and of course a profit, of course a preferable profit, then it's going to work out just fine. You will see those profits. But even with something that has a smaller profit, I personally don't rule those things out. And of course, you will think differently to me. You may think differently to me, and that's fine. Everyone is different when it comes to their analysis. But for me personally, I wouldn't necessarily rule out something that even has a profit like this. Now, the reason why is because the sales for this to me look good. And just based on what I'm seeing there, and I just know that summary things like this will, of course, do better in those prime summer months. So where it's saying this here, I expect this number will grow. And if I wanted to be doubly certain about this, then I might just save this product to a Google sheet or something, then check back in on it maybe in a week or two's time, and then see what it says at that point if I wanted to be doubly certain about it. But if it has a really high sales volume, and even if it's a low profit, all of those little bits of profit stack up rapidly, right, to make you a really nice amount for this product. So yeah, and it just so happened that I found this for $3.69. It could be cheaper elsewhere. There's always that potential. Competition wise, I'm taking a look and I am seeing that even though Amazon have got their price quite low, they're not actually winning the buy box, okay? It's going for $9.35, which means one of our FBA sellers here is winning the buy box, or even this FBM seller. Let's have a look. It's Summit Supplies. Let's see. So, yep, there's this one right here. What I imagine is going on here is that because of the similar pricing, and it looks like in terms of delivery and positive feedback and so forth, it's all pretty good. I know that some are higher than others here, but it's all pretty good, okay? And in this instance, I imagine Amazon is rotating the buy box round. So to me, that seems fine. There's nothing alarming about this on this listing. We'll take a look at the charts in a moment. Let's take a look at the buy box statistics over the last 30 days. So this is actually really good. So the buy box is shared around very nicely. And what's great as well is I'm not seeing very much Amazon here whatsoever. This is all our FBA and FBM people, although in this case it is just FBA. I think if we move over here, yep, so these are our sellers, not Amazon. That's great to see, and I can see that the buy box is shared around like fairly regularly, so that's great news to me. That means that I have a shot of winning the buy box, especially if I'm using a repricing tool as well. I'll always say that that is the case. Right, so if we then move on and maybe take a look at the multi-market analyzer, that's a little something to maybe check up on. Every time that you have an analysis session and you do sell in multiple marketplaces, just to have a quick double check at what the buy box is doing in another marketplace to see if it might be a bit more feasible to sell in that marketplace, or maybe your own marketplace and another as well. It's just worth a quick little look in here just to see what's going on elsewhere to get that broader understanding of the item. Okay, and that's all I'm going to look at in BuyBotPro for now. If I take a look at the charts, I mean, the sales heat map says it all right here. The BSR, there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of movement on there, which is a great sign because that means lots of sales. I can see that, of course, there is a bit of a there's a bit of a downtime with the BSR where it's obviously a lot higher, which of course isn't as good as when it is around here. So we have a bit of a spike here in those colder months, which is to be expected, and then again around abouts here. I kind of expect that in January, February as well, like that kind of time period, because obviously a lot of things end up slowing down around those points. That's just normal. But even so, with this kind of BSR and lots of movement, I wouldn't say that's particularly bad, and the sales heat map also reinforces the good price. Amazon aren't even in stock right now, so that's nice. They haven't been in stock, it looks like, for quite a while. Maybe they have just only restocked if we consider that competition analysis, so that's great to know. The buy box price has been, let's have a look a little bit further. Let's turn off some of these other bits. Right, let's turn off some of those. Right, let's look at the buy box price. So we can see that it had a significantly lower sell price in December, January, but that's to be expected. Colder months, they want to try and sell it. But now that there is obviously a bit more demand because it's warming up, the price has climbed upwards and it's stayed for the most part at a considerably higher price than what it was here. So this is great news. There's going to be consistency here. I can't see that changing because obviously sales are being made at this price. The demand is there. The prices can go up because the demand will still be there. So that looks fine to me. In terms of the offers on the listing, it's been fairly steady. A couple of dips, but then also it gets made up for when more sellers join, like we have right here. So to me, that just spells out that there's definitely no IP issues with this one. If we take a look at the buy box price in comparison to the break even, that's something I do want to just quickly check. Buy box price. Okay, so if we take a look at that. Now there has been some dips below the break even, which of course is just what it is. And maybe that might be reason to fulfill this ourselves. Okay, because that means the FBA fees won't, like, obviously FBA fees aren't around, so the overall cost is not going to be as much. So that might prompt me to go for an FBM approach for this item. But it looks like for the most part, the buy box is sitting nicely above the break even. Low profit, so of course it's not going to be spiking drastically above the break even. Now, based on the fact that it has been considerably low before, I might have skipped this. But because I know that this will do well just due to what it is and the time of the year it is and what it's going to be, I'm sure that I won't really see hardly any dips like this. Of course, again, I might want to come back to this in maybe 2 weeks and see what it is then. And in terms of consistency, there is a bit of up and down, but mostly on Amazon's part. The rest of it, it just seems to me that it's gradually kind of moved up over time in terms of like the average pricing for the buy box, say, and therefore other people's pricing, like the FBA average price, the new average price, and so forth. So yeah, to me that looks good. The BSR average, it's doing better in time. So this looks like it's doing consistently okay, and if anything, it is moving up. So to me, I would say that this is about okay. This is probably more of a beginner level kind of item, something to use to get gated, obviously because it is low profit, and of course we did have a period in the charts where it was below the break even, quite a low sell price. But I don't see that happening, at least not for the next few months. So this will be a good opportunity to get in. And of course, we might just want to recheck this in 1 or 2 weeks' time to see where we're at. So yeah, I would say that this is an okay item for a beginner. That's where I'm going to place it. Obviously, if you're anywhere beyond that and you like low profit things that have got high sales, then of course you might like this as well. But to me, I would say that this is okay for getting ungated and maybe just to give you a bit of a start and a bit of experience with Amazon. That's where I'm going to place this item. But hopefully everything I've looked at there in this analysis session has been helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you soon.